Hey folks, it's Maxi here and welcome to another TEW2020 video. You join us here for a rare pay-per-view with AEW as we tackle AEW Double or Nothing 2023. I'm looking forward to it. It's a 300-minute show, in-game, thankfully, not video. And there's a lot of things happening on the card. I think we go to 29 segments. Every match pretty much has a segment to go with it as well. I don't think we're going to beat last year's show rating. Even though we do have the boost, as you can see there with the star band and the B-list celebrity, I just feel that Kingston versus Hangman main event maybe lacks psychology, so I think that will penalise it, but it's part of the storyline. It's my championship title, it has to go on last, but we should smash the attendance that we had at Yankee Stadium last year, and yeah, just overall there's a lot of good things happening. We do have a couple of debuts. It's one of my offline saves. You're always going to get like 9 million more people coming to the roster, but we'll explain stuff as we do match by match, and hopefully you enjoy the ride that we're about to embark on. Broadcasters for this one are Sky Sports Box Office and In Demand, because it's a strictly pay-per-view and not on AEW Plus for a cheap 10 million. So without further ado, let's crack on with this year's Double or Nothing. So we are in the Alamodome and we sell out 72,000. And it's a cheap 100 rating here because it says trade words in an in-ring style. I use this kind of angle just really as like your show opener. Now you always get your video package, more so back in the day to these days where it was like, here is how these two guys have embarked on this war. And now, WWE presents, you know, that kind of thing. And obviously in this case it would be AEW presents Double or Nothing. So just Eddie Kingston talking about the last couple of months, how he just feels like this is his time to reign as AEW World Champion. So a 100 there from both these guys. Our opening contest was about the had fantastic heat and great wrestling, and we had Shinsuke Nakamura defeat CM Punk in 1402 with a bomb ye. Disappointingly only a 75. You can see the performances here was an 80 and an 87. Yeah. Despite Nakamura having roughly about 80 popularity across the US and Punk being just shy of 90, Punk was still not happy to do the honours, so I had again to keep him strong. So that obviously hampers the show rating, but it allows us again to get some popularity from Punk onto Nakamura. Nakamura will be pretty much one of our bigger stars going forward. We just have to sacrifice a little bit of a match rating in your opener. But Punk has backup. Nakamura may be celebrating his victory in the ring, but joining CM Punk is Jonah. He's going to be the big monster bodyguard for CM Punk. I like everything I've seen of this guy since he's left WWE. I enjoyed him as Bronson Reed, but just everything I've seen, whether through Impact or New Japan, the big man looks like he's going to have a stellar 2022. So we're going to push him here as the bodyguard and hopefully rub some of that CM Punk overness onto Jonah. So a 71 there as he debuts his King of the Monsters gimmick, which got an initial rating of very good. Also, Nakamura looked good. We move on to our AEW Women's World Tag Division. This was put together admittedly at the last minute because I don't have as many tandems as I would have quite liked, and didn't fancy jobbing out Ronda Rousey again after Shayna Baszler's departure because she's retiring in a month. So in about the terrible wrestling and non-existent crowd heat, TJ defeated the team of Layla Hirsch and Killer Kelly in 640 when Anna Jay pinned Killer Kelly with a scissors kick, giving TJ the second defence of the AEW Women's World Tag titles. At 36, Killer Kelly was your weak link. We are looking to build some teams. Unfortunately, most of our teams are on the babyface side of things alongside TJ. Inspiration are clearly going to go heel, but it's still too soon apparently, and I don't want to just have them, unhappy and it turns to flop, so I'm basically biding time before we do that. So this actually kills my next angle, which you'll see in a second, but the crowd were turned off because it was all pre-show workers. We're still working and getting Anna Jay and Ty Conti over, although to be fair, Layla Hirsch is actually like just under 50 over. But Layla Hirsch and Killer Kelly not working as a team doesn't really help me, and Anna Jay was off her game. The reason that doesn't help me is because when they get to the back, they bump into Brian Alvarez. He's back, that little bastard. And he's like, I've got a good history with the likes of Brock Lesnar, Hideo Suzuki, Who else has he got a history with? He had Daniel Garcia at one point, he had Claudio. He's like, I feel you could be a really good wrestling tandem. And we're going to go proper WWE here and just say this never happened, because obviously it doesn't work as a team, and I don't want to meddle too much with relationships unless entirely necessary. So, back to the drawing board. Moving along, we have some more women's action, and it was in our TBS division as Toni Storm picked up a victory over Hikaru Shida in 12:38 with the strong 0. This gave Toni her 4th defence of the TBS Championship. 68, I'm very, very happy with that. We are trying to push Toni into the 70 performance to continue to get her over, build up her momentum. Shida's like Riho, she's just been very unfortunate where she's not been centralised in the programme and she's not quite as over as I'd need her, but eventually their ascendancy will get them to the next level and they can challenge for the TBS and the Women's Championship. The worry is the TBS Championship, because how I put it, was actually more prestigious than our women's. So a lot of work to do with the AEW Women's Championship. But that's got a big match-up coming up. Might actually be next, but it was 68 anyway. And it was next. It was about to have some good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd as we had Mercedes Varanado defeat Deonna Purrazzo in 1943 by submission with a bank statement. Second defence of the Women's World title for Mercedes. Far too early for her to lose it, but at 73, both ladies with good performances here, and I still feel we haven't even scratched the surface with either of them, so I think we could eventually see this matchup possibly hit an 80 down the line. And they've certainly got age on their side for that to happen. And after the matchup, Mercedes decides she wants to beat down Deonna after she wins the matchup, but making the save is Io Shirai. Absolutely going Io Shirai versus Mercedes. That could be phenomenal as well. Basically, if they're a good women's wrestler, we've probably signed them, or we are going to sign them in this save. But 71, regardless. Next up, we had a good matchup. Prince Devitt took on Darby Allin in a babyface versus babyface match, and Devitt wins in 22:47 with a double knee gutbuster. Obviously, Devitt's not long arrived, so we kind of need to keep him getting W's at the moment. And a 77 as these two tango, two fan favourites. We then have a hype package for 2 new acquisitions. I think this is the last 2 debuts on the show, and we are going to be seeing Killer Cross and Scarlett Bordeaux arriving shortly. They actually have broken up in game, but we'll keep them as a tandem, and that is a 48 rated segment. I wonder if that happens actually, if couples can break up but can get together again. That'll be interesting. But anyway, looking forward to booking them if they don't get lost in the shuffle, which there might be a chance they might. Extremely short matchup. I had Wyndham defeat Hideo Suzuki in 308 with a standing senton splash. At 70, Wyndham gets a 79 performance. The match was hampered because of a lack of selling. Hideo Suzuki's one of these interesting ones. I personally, admittedly, didn't know a lot about him. I know he was in the Diamond Mine, I don't know if that's still the case, but like the guy's got like 90 technical, so I'm throwing him in against every good worker just because he can do it. But the reason for this one, Wyndham is kind of, because he doesn't quite fit the mould of AEW, I struggle where to fit him in. And he's been kind of in this little program at the moment with 5 and 10 as they've come back up from the development factory. So it's like he's getting a bit more aggressive, and that's how he wins this in 3 minutes and 8. And this kind of leads to him like 10 having to step in and kind of look, what you then basically. He's like, you've beat him, it's cool. This isn't what the Dark Order stands for, you know what I mean? We're a fun loving group. And Wyndham and him, they basically have a heated confrontation. They get ready to start punching each other, but the Dark Order will just say, instead of security, takes them away. There's big plans for 5 and 10, 10 and Allen Angels. So this is kind of putting the wheels in motion, because well, we obviously still have June event, July event. Some of this stuff will set up for All Out in August, and that was a 72. Then had a bit of a heated confrontation before our next matchup. We had absolute Ricky Starks of Team Taz for a wee confrontation with Sami Zayn. It's because their friends are in action next, as we have Calvin Tankman from Team Taz taking on Kevin Steen. Both heels, but there's a promise in there. You've got to utilise the promise. That's how you build stars. So 65. And then a heel v heel matchup. Good matchup. Calvin Tankman defeats Kevin Steen in 13:09 with a Tankman driver. At 74, the amount of people that want to put Calvin over and doing it on pay-per-view gets some bigger boosts, so we could probably have Tankman very close to the main event if it continues the way it's going. We then had our 8-man tag. I decided to go with it again. There was a temptation to go with Cole versus Taylor Black again, but we just went with Undisputed versus Black Mass. And it was a decent matchup that saw Black Mass, so of course Tyler Black, Buddy Matthews, Akam and Razar defeat Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong. In 22-26 we had Tyler Black pin Roderick Strong with a curb stomp. Bobby Fish the weak link here, only a 47, a 75 overall because of the mixture of overness. I think we probably will see the end of this feud because I really want to tap into Adam Cole versus Sammy Guevara, because that is a personal feud in this game. We have a hype package for MJF v Wardlow, which was a 74. Obviously, this is going to be one of the more frustrating programs I'm going to book, and I'll explain that over the course of things, but this has been brewing for probably two years, the whole save so far. Wardlow finally snapped and turned babyface. Their matchup was about had great heat, good wrestling. MJF defeats Wardlow in 12-27 by disqualification. 78, 68 for Wardlow, 89 for MJF, and there was a definite lack of psychology on display. So, reasons for this booking. MJF is still more over than Wardlow, so I could give him the win, but by DQ kind of protects Wardlow. We still need to build Wardlow up a bit. Both guys don't have the greatest psychology stat. Wardlow's is still in the low 50s, so I had him in a match against Sammy Guevara, pretty much either not too very long on either Dynamite or Rampage. He picked up the win, obviously, boosted his overness, but the match just flopped because both of them never had the psychology, and it got me wondering, like, these two aren't really going to have the psychology. MJF can get there, he's young enough, he's still going to be in matches with the likes of Kenny, Bryan, all these kind of guys to get him that psychology. That's why I always have one of those guys close to the main event, just somebody that can carry the match with his psychology stat. So I feel that's one thing that might hamper me in the future, is once they all get too old or retire, we won't have people with psychology. But that's why I've kept the likes of QT Marshall and other older wrestlers on the roster that might particularly not really do anything apart from just help boost the psychology stat through mentorship. But 78 here, and we get extended heat with Wardlow putting MJF through a table. So he lost the match, but he's absolutely destroyed MJF. 82. I hope that explains my thinking between a lot of booking as well, and why it is vital to keep some elder statesmen on the roster. Tag Team Championships on the line next. It was about had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Ace and Christian Cage defeat Proud and Powerful in 13:49 when Ace pinned Ortiz with a spear. Second defence of the AEW World Tag Titles, Ace carrying the matchup. I felt these two would have a good match together, and I wasn't disappointed with the 79. Too early to take the championships off them, and Proud and Powerful are going to get many opportunities at the belt. But I just say if we can utilise the entertainment stat of Christian and Edge, then we can certainly benefit the other workers they'll be in there with. Then I have a hype package. Some words from Jon Moxley. Just says him and Jeff Cobb are about to go to war for the TNT Championship. Cobb's defeated some big names, but has he dealt with anyone as sadistic and dangerous as Jon Moxley? That was an 84. Their matchup, superb matchup. Jeff Cobb defeats Jon Moxley in 15:08 with the Tour of the Islands. His second defence of the TNT Championship, again too early to take it off him. 81 for the segment rating, a 78 and 87. I think he made this wild brawl. But my thinking as well is it was a good opportunity to get a lot of overness from Moxley on a Cobb as well, so I built another star in that regard. It just means, like, going forward as well for like my Dynamites and my Rampages, I don't need to keep relying on Bryan Danielson or Jon Moxley or Hangman or Kenny. I've got like maybe 8 or 9 people that can get into that main event slot, and I can start resting people, because I feel like Danielson's body will just like completely go in this because he's been used so many 30-minute matches to get that attempted 100 rating every week. But Cobb retains, and the TNT Championship will no doubt gain some more prestige. And of course these two just like fighting, so it's an all-out brawl until we cut to a AEW shop commercial. But 78, look forward to seeing what the result is of Jeff Cobb's overness. Then have a little backstage segment. is we're going to have a 6-man tag with people that I couldn't fit in, and we are going to see Cody Rhodes team with Matt Cardona and Andrade El Idolo. Kenny says he'd love to help, but he says it's good to give other guys an opportunity, so he'll be watching on, but you 3 guys can do it. If you're wondering why we've went for Matt Cardona, we have a deal where Impact takes some of our stars on loan. I'd like Impact to get a little bit bigger, so if I can get one of their guys really, really over, in the form of Matt Cardona, they get bigger, more of our stars are willing to go over, they get bigger, and we obviously benefit from the exposure that our stars would get. So that's what I'm hoping for. And in fact, the guy had a really, really amazing 2021, and he's friends with Cody, so it makes storyline sense as well. We have the elaborate entrance for obviously the 2 guys that wouldn't be quite believable in AEW, but say it's basically a fantasy thing these days. So Shawn Michaels obviously gets a mad reception, and I think it's Drew's first pay-per-view match since he's signed. He has obviously had matches on Dynamite, so that got an 87. They're teaming up with Bryan in this co-main event of the evening, and it was a good matchup that saw Bryan Danielson, Drew Galloway and Shawn Michaels defeat Cody Rhodes, Matt Cardona and Andrade El Idolo in 23:53 when Drew pinned Andrade with the Claymore kick. But during the matchup we had Kenny Omega turn on Cody, so Kenny's going babyface and we're going Kenny v Cody. Can't wait. But 81 overall. You're wondering why that. Drew was not particularly over with WWE, so we need to rebuild him, and you could argue the same with Matt Cardona. We're starting to try to build him up as well. Shawn can only go for a short period of time, so his in-ring performances are more overness based than anything else. Basically in this, Bryan and Andrade would have carried it. But 19 segments, complete success. It's the end of the Elite as well, because obviously the Young Bucks are still heels, but it just means then it's like Cody and the Bucks, and I can go Kenny with so many directions as a babyface. Which leads us to the main event of the evening. And I don't feel confident because I don't feel love the psychology for it. But Hangman says it's a year to the day since he won the championship from Kenny Omega. He knows how big an occasion this is, and he's doing all he can to remain AEW champion, although he knows how dangerous Eddie Kingston is. And it's flopped. Oh no! It happens. This what happens when you've never had them fight before, but you go for it. It was a bout that had fantastic heat and great wrestling, or good wrestling. Eddie Kingston does defeat Hangman in 22-12 with a handful of the tights. Eddie Kingston becomes your AEW World Champion. The match itself only gets a 78 because both guys don't click, and it made for an awkward bout, resulting in 77 and 78 rated performances. So you can put them in with the right people. In this instance we haven't, but if you put them in with either of these guys and with Bryan, I think we hit a 90 easily. So a bit of a shame. We might still not lose pop. I think we might get a bit of 80 because we get the boosts on, and obviously a strong opening segment, and then Eddie celebrating as champion is an 85. What a lovely moment that would have been, even as a heel, to have Eddie Kingston celebrate. We get 87. So that just shows you the importance of the boosts, of the celebrities, the setup of the ring, the magicians, and having that strong opening segment, and how we book the shows as well, with main event spotlight and basically focusing on our best angle. Probably did help as well with some strong angles there as well. But I'm still happy with it. You can see like we are pretty much at a position now where everything's hitting into the 70s. There's a few stuff that's a little bit poor, but once we get people moving and over, you can see a lot of these people can maybe start making their way towards the main event. But of course, not everyone can be a main eventer. I just want to quickly get back to the main screen, because obviously we are maybe going to take a bit of time here, but it allows us to maybe check how we've done financially for the month of May, because that'll be us into June. It's going to give me an idea as well of, was putting the belt on Kenny the right idea? Is he going to be over enough? Not Kenny, Eddie. And have we look at what programs we've got going forward, because obviously you've got Thingy next, but all out to August, you've got a few things in between. So I see a few things here that's going to affect us. Let's take a little look. So Sarah Amato is gone. We turned her into a wrestler. She's got 80. 86 psychology is perfect. I'd love to bring her in. That's a worry. It was over a year ago. So if WWE lets her go, so look. Let's do it. Let's bring her in. Let's give her a 1 year deal. And she can be both a wrestler and a road agent, because that psychologist that can get passed on. And maybe she can hopefully get involved in some mentorship if she can pick someone up. Worry is her overness, but you can put her in a couple of kick-ass matches and we'll get her there, so we'll try it. But Sarah Amato will come in, or Sarah Amato. Robbie Roode. Well, her body is, he's 46. I was going to retire anyway, that doesn't matter. So he's retiring in 2.5 months. I think what we'll do with him is, I don't want him just to leave the business, so there you go. We might bring him in as a road agent. And maybe like the psychology a bit better, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one anyway. Just bring in everyone from WWE. We are going to lose Rosemary. She's going to retire at the age of 39. She is... Do you want to become a road agent? There you go. She'll probably road agent for us a little bit, but I think we'll just let her go when her contract expires in 29 days. How convenient. So yep, she'll just be let go quietly. Apart from that, nothing else majorly apart from the show was getting fantastic reviews. We have completed the renegotiation of Powerhouse Hobbs, and Chris Statlander gets a 75% increase of her wages. We're also looking to bring in Jimmy Uso, and then we'll sit him in the sidelines for 6 months until we get Jey Uso, and then we'll just have some sort of Fatu action. He's the only one who's seriously considering 36. I know it says that, but sometimes you never get them. So 36, 3 years, and 30% for an event. So hopefully we get Jimmy, then we'll target Jey. I just want a bit more experience in the tag ranks, and I know I'll always going to get a good match there. So obviously we know about those contracts. We didn't have Johnny Hungy, so he's down as a written deal at the moment. I will go with my template, which is a handshake deal, 2 year deal, and just doing it per show. We have to put the merch up to 20%. Oh, once more. Okay, Johnny Hungy. But I just like doing that because we have such a big roster. I'd rather just give them handshake deals so they can go and work elsewhere if they want. Jason Jordan is now toned. I've still never debuted him yet. Io Shirai is charismatic. Don't you worry, Pete Dunne. She is getting a push. So we had 741,000 people view the show, a buy rate of 1.48. If I just quickly dive into my top 100s, that would be number 3, so that would just be behind Revolution and Full Gear. That makes sense because we are in a bit of an industry decline. Oh, and we're only on Sunday, so we still have an opportunity to make sure we don't get taxed that much, and I'll show you how we're going to work that one out. So pay-per-view revenue was 2.9, but you can see the ticket sales were way up on that one. What I'd like to do, because we get 51 million investments, upgrade your broadcaster, and we are going to fire that in to Japan. So then you won't get taxed that much, and the 46 million doesn't get wasted so much. So that's pretty much us. We are going to be working towards Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, which will be AEW Plus specials, and then we will have All Out. So again, no timetable for when the next video will be, just keep an eye on socials and it'll go up when we get to book it. So thanks for watching. We enjoyed the journey that we're about to embark on, and also when I get to All Out, that will be 2 full years in the save as well. So just watching, take it easy, happy booking, and have a good 2022. Bye bye.